Welcome to episode 65 on the Live Blissed Out podcast. Did you know that analysts predict that Netflix will spend over $17 billion on original content in 2020? By 2028, they predict this amount to increase to $26 billion per year. Hello, action takers. Welcome to Live Blissed Out, a podcast where I have inspirational and informational conversations with business owners and subject matter experts to help us get the scoop and the lowdown on a variety of topics. Tired of hesitating or making decisions without having the big picture? Want to be in the know? Then this is the place to go. I'm your host, Marissa Houston, helping achieve bliss through awareness and action. Thanks for joining me. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Joining me is Aman Agarwal, founder and teacher at SanPram Transnational, an executive education company that focuses on technical fluency, which is the ability to work on high-level technical problems and contribute value in conversations with engineers without the need for deep domain expertise. Aman obtained his master's degree in systems engineering from Cornell University. As an engineer, he has worked on self-driving trucks, computer vision for robot assistants, and AI-enabled brain-computer interfaces. Besides that, he was a B2B sales executive for two tech startups, both worth over $1 billion. He has received worldwide recognition for his teaching. His essays explaining cutting-edge AI technologies to non-engineers have been widely discussed in the media, and he's given guest lectures on AI to fine art students in Japan. To learn more, visit sanpram.com. Aman, it's so nice to talk to you today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're going to talk about something that I think impacts a lot of people, including myself. I think we're all dealing with this right now, and it's technology. It's using technology in the best way possible for our businesses. Now it's a fine line between how we use it. We use it on a personal level, but we also have to use it for our businesses. And given the fact that most of us are home now, technology has never been more important. Most of our listeners are small business owners. What exactly is the definition that we're going to be talking about today when we say small business?
What I think people mean when they say the word small business is that they're trying to serve a very few limited number of people in their community, usually in their physical community. That's the picture that most people have, like, hey, we're just a small business. It's just me and my family or a few people. And these are the 5 blocks that we serve. And that's our market. They come to us every other day. And that's how we keep the ball rolling. And we keep paying the bills and provide for our family. And I think that is great. You know clearly who your market is and who you're serving. But is that really the only way that you can think about marketing? Is that the only way you can define yourself as a business? Because you're not a small business, you are a business person. And one thing that you need to be careful about is, even though you think that you are serving this small community and these are your patrons and you can build a sustainable business serving these people, the big companies are also trying to serve those exact people. So if you're a little bookstore and you think that it's a safe place for you because your community is going to support you, well, ask any bookstore owner in America right now how it's going with Amazon being the big player in the market. And they'll tell you that the word small business doesn't really have a clear meaning anymore, because what it once meant, where you could put your flag in this little community or in this town, and these are your customers and nobody else can actually take them over unless they physically come there, that's no longer true. You may be serving very few customers, but there's a lot more competition. And so you have to think outside the box as well.
I think what you're saying is that there's the local business that we used to think of pre-internet. When you started a business before the global technology hit and we didn't have internet capabilities, you were local. You were in your community. They counted on you. So, for example, you go to the little store down the street and they would sell you maybe candy or soda or little bath supplies or whatever it is that you needed. And you were happy and you knew the person that was running that business. And it was really a central community that you were supporting. Nowadays, it's so much easier to just go online, search for something, buy it. And in a day, it's at your door. And you don't think about the kind of impact that can have on your local community, because there could be somebody that you know that is offering that same product or something even better or similar in your area that you can support. And yet you don't even think about it because now it's really all about convenience. You're just thinking, I don't want to drive around. I don't know if this thing is available. It's going to take me time to figure it out. So let me just hit that button and tomorrow it'll be at my doorstep. And you don't even think twice about the impact that that has. And so how we define small business, I think it started out the way we were discussing, which is more local and centralized. But now we refer to a lot of things as small business really when they're not. So that distinction is very important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that in today's world, anybody should be thinking of themselves as a small business. And they should just think, well, I have a business. Who's my market? The terminology you use to describe that is something totally separate. You could say that I have a small online business and I serve only, let's say, 5,000 people. That's my market. But these 5,000 people are all across the planet. I have customers in Japan who buy my, let's say, information products or whatever, right? You may be selling recipes, you may be selling some pieces of craft, which you ship all over the world. And you're a small business who just happens to be global.
And the thing is, in the past, you weren't really competing head on. You knew that the people in your community were going to come to you because you were just down the street. They knew you. They wanted to serve you. Now, whether you like it or not, you're competing with other people online. And whatever is most convenient for the consumer is who's going to win the game. At the end of it, the consumer is not going to sacrifice their convenience for you. It needs to be the other way around. You're going to have to think of ways to make it easy for your customers to do business with you so they choose you. How do we leverage technology? There's just so many tools now. There's so many choices. And I think what's confusing for a lot of business owners is I'm afraid to make an investment in a particular system because I don't know if that's the system I need. Is it going to offer me more than I need? Is it going to be too little? Where do I start? And I think that's a lot of the confusion that takes place. And because of that, people hesitate and they end up lagging behind or perhaps procrastinating when it comes to using the right technology that they need to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing is, I don't even like to think about which technology should I buy. So all your business technology decisions should stem from the business strategy, the business goals that you're trying to drive. Let's take a totally different example. Let's say you're building a house and you hire an architect and you hire a contractor or whatever to build your dream house. If you're going to sit down with the architect and have that conversation, the first conversation, one way to go about that conversation is like, hey, what kind of house is everybody else building? And I want something exactly like that, which is the safest option within my budget. This is how much money I have. Whatever the most popular thing is out there, you just give me that and I'll find a way to like it and make it work for me. That's one way you can have that conversation. The other one is, I have a family, I have 3 kids, and I have maybe my parents who might move in with me in future, and I'm going to have a dog, or I'm going to have 5 cats, and I need 3 bathrooms, and I need a place where I can have my own hobby space where I can do my own thing, and I want a really large movie theater because I love watching movies. That's a very different way to go about that conversation where your needs are driving the architecture or the design of the house that you'll eventually live in. That's where the architect can say like, oh yeah, so you're a family. I've seen other families face this problem. What do you think of having, let's say, an extra bedroom for guests or whatever? That's when they can actually guide you and build something that is really fit for your family. And it's the same for your business. You could say like, yeah, of course, there's like 5 million pieces of technology that you could buy today and people would be more than happy to sell it to you, right? It doesn't cost them anything to sell you stuff. They only make money from you. The key is you need to know whatever technology is out there, how can that help you with your business? And the difficult part about having this conversation is that most people don't even know in today's world what their business strategy should be, because they're still in the zone of, oh, I have a little bookstore and these are the 10 blocks that I serve. And I don't have a game plan, and I hope that Amazon doesn't drive me out of business. And hope is not a strategy, especially the pandemic that revealed a lot of these problems where people haven't been thinking enough about the business fundamentals. They haven't been thinking about, I have a product or a service. How can I deliver that to more people? Where are my next few customers going to come from? What are my expenses? How can I reduce those? How can I make sure my margins are up? Thinking from these fundamentals, thinking from these basic building blocks of any business, that's the first conversation you need to have with yourself and with your business partners. And then you see, okay, if I could do some of these things at a bigger scale or for cheaper or whatever, what do I need? Where are my next 50 customers going to come from, and how do they find us? And then once you have a business strategy laid out, then you can think, for this, I can use software, or for that, I just need more people, or I need to hire remote workers or virtual assistants, whatever it is. You're going to come up with your own menu, so to speak, for your business strategy. And so I think the key again is having a business strategy, having a plan, and then knowing enough about technology to be able to put that plan to work with the tools that are right for you.
We get inundated with ads on all kinds of software that's out there. And there's so many things they can do. And because the business people out there, ideally, they want one thing that can do everything they need. But oftentimes you'll look into one system and it'll miss this one piece. And then you go over here and it has that piece, but the other stuff you're really not going to use. And so I think what then happens is people go, well, I want that, but it's not a la carte. And so how do I build what I need so that I get just the right amount of tools that are going to accomplish the goals that I have for my business? And as you pointed out, Aman, you can take bits and pieces, or maybe take a software that is lacking in a few things, but 90% of it works for you. Or you can say, what are the necessities of what it is that I need to get accomplished? And then backtrack from there and say, all right, I have my list. It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant, you know what you want to order from the menu. You're not just going to get a buffet, right? You're going to order specific things that you really need. And then the rest is just a bonus. So looking at it from more of plan first and then select, as opposed to being enticed by all of these offerings that are out there that can be so overwhelming because there's just so many to choose from.
Yeah, totally right. And even on the topic of choosing the right software, one question that you could ask yourself to make that conversation easier is, if you could hire 500 people tomorrow for free, and these are unskilled people that you could put to any task you want and they'll learn over time how to do that task, how would you deploy those 500 people to work? It's an outrageous thought experiment, but it's something that gives you an insight into, what is technology really doing for me? What technology really does for you is do a few tasks again and again for barely no extra money. So instead of having one person do it all day, it's a piece of software that is doing it for you. So for example, if it's about, let's say, doing customer service, you want to make sure that every person who wants to call in to your business and get some help should be able to do so. So you could either hire people to set up a call center, or you could use a software tool or some platform where somebody can call in, or they can use a chatbot or whatever it is. Again, it depends on your business. If you can answer the question of, how am I going to put 500 people to work? That thought experiment is going to reveal all the missing links in your business where you're like, wow, there's a lot of ways that I can scale my business with human beings. And then you translate that into software. Like, okay, this is how I would put 500 people to work. And so now I have an idea of how I would do so without people and with software.
Yeah, there are activities where we want as a business to have a live person, live interaction, an actual person that handles it. And there are some mundane tasks where it's not necessary and we can use basic technology to get us where we need to go. How do we determine as business owners whether we should take the time to learn these tools ourselves and apply them in our business, or perhaps outsource some of those activities? Even the software itself can be overwhelming because now you've got to learn this new system and then you're going, but I don't want to manage this. This is too much stuff. Even though the software is already taking away a lot of work for me, it's still work to utilize it, to make it work the way I need it to work. At what point do we say, all right, I'm going to learn all this, I'm going to test it all out, and see if this is the right system for me, or do I just find an expert in this field? So for example, there might be software X and you know somebody who is a master at software X. Do you just hire them and say, you manage this whole thing for me, but I want to use this software? All of those decisions are so difficult for business owners. So what do you recommend we think about from that perspective?
There's multiple things going on here. One is, how do you decide what kind of software you need or what kind of product you need to buy? And how do you make decisions about, okay, which one is the right for me? Because you're going to have to learn how to use what you are deciding you need, which is kind of like a catch-22, right? I don't know what I need. And whatever I do decide that I need, I'm going to have to learn how to use it. So you're like in this circle where like, wait, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going to stay away from all of technology whatsoever. And I'm just going to do my own thing. And the other one is I'm going to go up to an expert and ask them questions, but I don't know what questions I should be asking. And I don't know how to make sense of the responses they will give me. And so how do I have this conversation with an expert when I have no idea what they do and what I even need?
It's like speaking a different language because they're talking to you in terminology that they're familiar with and they think that you understand and you really don't. And it becomes then so overwhelming. And then there's also the trust factor beyond the fact that you're not having the conversation in terms that you can both relate to. Then you don't even know if this person is just giving you all that stuff to make it sound important or if they're really somebody you can trust that you want to bring into your team.
Yep. Getting what you want from any technical expert in any field, whether it's accounting or finance or manufacturing or packaging or even software technology. It's all the same. You are basically going to an expert with no idea what it's about and you want to get knowledge. And so the biggest tip that I give to business people or anyone is to look for the heart of a teacher in that person. Basically, what that means is if that person is not willing to explain to you things at your level, if they're not willing to distill the technical concepts into like, okay, you tell me what you need and I'm going to teach you, not just guide you, but I'm going to teach you how this thing works and how you can make use of it and why it matters to you. I would say put on your CEO hat and say, wait, I'm going to hire this person to do this task for me and they're going to work for me. It's their job to explain to me how they can help me. It's not my job to give them money to do whatever they want to do. It's their job to do what I want to get done and I will give them money for it.
I've had situations where I wanted to hire someone and they're just like, yeah, just give me this, give me that, go away. I feel mixed emotions because there's part of me that's like, how do I know that this is going to work the way I want it to work? Because you're just separating me from the whole process. But at the same time, it's nice to know that they know enough about it and say, I'll handle it for you. So it's trying to find that balance, don't you think?
Yeah, you want to be able to delegate to the experts when you know that they know what they're doing. So for example, and let's go back to the house analogy, if I'm hiring an architect, I don't need to know how they sketch these stuff on the computer and how they make all these nice 3D models, and I don't need to know how they exactly do their thing. What I'm really concerned about is what is going to get done. This is the house I want. Do I like it or not? So it's the architect's job to show you what they're going to do, like what are the results that I'm going to get within my budget and within my time. And then once I'm happy with what they're promising me, then I can let them go and do their own thing in their own way. And I want to, remove myself from that equation. But the key again is you're trying to get stuff done for your business. That's the whole game. That's the whole point. You have a business strategy. You have a list of 100 things that need to get done somehow. That's your business basically. And then you are choosing the right person to do these things for you. And so if the person you're hiring is not capable of explaining to you, like, hey, I understand what you need to get done, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how much it's going to cost you, and this is why I'm doing it this way or that way. Does it all make sense to you? If not, what are your questions? I'm willing to answer. I'm willing to guide you so that you feel confident in my capability and you feel confident that you can delegate this stuff to me. And so there's also a difference between delegating expertise where you're hiring an expert versus delegating like outsourcing. So there's one part where you're hiring an expert to make decisions on your behalf and give you some advice. And then there's another kind of outsourcing where you know exactly how this needs to be done, but this is below your pay grade, so you give it to somebody else. For example, if it's about sending out postcards to 500 prospective customers, I know exactly what that is. I'm going to maybe write what's going to be on the postcard, but I'm not going to sit and write down 500 postcards. So I'm going to outsource that to somebody else, and I can give them exact instructions on how they're going to do it and what kind of beautiful post stamp they're going to use and whatever, right? You're the expert. You're giving a task to somebody. That's a different conversation where you're like, okay, I know exactly what you're going to do. Just go and do it for me. Take this money and handle it. What we're talking about here is you're hiring an expert. Like this guy is going to come up with a marketing strategy for, let's say, senior citizens. And let's say you're a 22-year-old person and you have no idea how to market products to senior citizens. And you're selling, let's say, bread or food products or whatever, right? In that case, you have to trust their judgment and not just their ability to get stuff done. So in this case, you want them to be able to explain to you, senior citizens have these preferences, this is the scenario, this is how you market to them, this is what usually works and what doesn't work, why or why not. Now, let's make a plan together where you green signal what you think I'm supposed to do, and then I'm going to do it for you. And you can trust me to do the right thing because we are both on the same page.
So it's more of a collaboration where they get to know you and your needs, but at the same time, they are the experts in that area. So now you're having that communication rather than just handing it over and you don't even know what they're doing. And that makes business owners kind of nervous because they feel like they don't really know what's happening and they still need to be part of that process. I remember talking to one of my guests, and one of the things she recommended, which I found very interesting because I never thought of it before, is when you select somebody to help you with any of these processes, don't feel like you're committed to just one person. In fact, what she does is she contacts maybe 2 or 3 people and says, I'm going to give you all the same project. I'm going to pay you all equally for this project. But depending on the one I think worked with me the best, that's the person I'm going to hire going forward for all my future projects. And I think having a little bit of that competition and letting them know that, hey, I'm trying to pick the right person for me. It's also your responsibility to see if we work well together because they may have a totally different working style and it's not going to jive between the two of you. Then that might be a problem. And you don't want to feel like you're obligated to work with somebody that's not a good fit. What do you think about that? Do you think that might be a good idea?
Yeah, of course. I've definitely heard of people, they hire, let's say, 2 assistants at the same time or 2 secretaries and they give both of them the same job and they see, okay, after 1 month, which one of them is going to stay? Or maybe both because they have 2 really great assistants who can do stuff for you. So definitely having some competition and being able to shop around with the experts and see which one you work best with in any business, that's totally fine. What I'm concerned about is if a lot of people have the resources to be able to shop around and actually try these out. So before they can spend money or spending their time on multiple people, maybe there's also some factors that they could use to filter them out early so that only the promising ones actually get their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time.
Vetting them, asking the right questions and checking things up front to determine whether or not they fit very early on if it's something that's going to be successful. What exactly does your company do? What are some services that you offer and how do you help people?
So I'm a teacher, basically, to put it simply. So I have an executive education company. I help business professionals, entrepreneurs, business executives, how to be technically fluent. What that means is being able to make high-level decisions about technology, being able to understand how technology works, whether all this, the software systems, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these new things in the market, how to hire engineers, how to manage them effectively, how to define a project plan for different things, how to decide the budget, how to scale things up and down depending on where you are in your business. It's basically a 2 to 2.5 month training program, which I offered one-on-one. It has a lot of practical exercises, practical technical fluency training, where the executive essentially becomes fluent by the end of that time. The key is being able to make decisions on your own and be able to work with experts confidently. That is the ultimate goal.
So this is then a course as well as coaching with you to help them through this process so that they can plan and create a roadmap of where it is that they want to go You might, let's say, want to build a course that you want to offer to somebody, or maybe your goal is to improve the customer service experience with your current customers and future customers. So whatever it is that end game is, there's going to be technology somewhere there that you're going to have to utilize. And so it's really understanding how to plan for it so that you get the most out of that process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the course is actually more of a business to technology course than a technology textbook, because it's always important to start with the business goals, the business strategy, and then work backwards to technology. And so the whole course, it's very heavy on case studies. So for example, we look at a lot of famous companies, like how they started, how the technology evolved over time. Netflix is an example that I take all the time. I just love that company, and I just love how they developed over time. And what's interesting to think about is that when they started in 1997, 1998, their business was shipping DVDs to your home.
Yes, I remember that.
There was nothing about streaming or online technology or whatever.
Correct. It came in those little packets in the mail, and you'd get so excited because you're like, oh, my movie's here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so at that time, they were competing with Blockbuster, which had all these rental stores. And so to put it simply, your business is you are helping people watch movies at home. That's basic your business goal as a small business or whatever, right? That's your business goal. That's your product. That's your service. And so you're like, okay, I help people watch movies at home. How do people do it currently? They go to a physical store and they rent the DVD and they bring it home and they watch it like that. Now you look at what are the margins in this business and how can it be done better? So you see, okay, wait, having a physical establishment and hiring people to manage it and maintain it, that's a lot of overhead. Instead, what I'm going to do is have one location in one big region, and I'm going to ship the DVDs to their homes, and they're going to get it 2 or 3 days later, but they'll be able to watch it at home and they can get it cheaper than the DVD, and they don't have to pay so much in late fees.
Yes. And part of that process too is you didn't have to go return it, because you could just put it in an envelope and the mailman would come get it and then you would get your new one. And so even the process of returning the movie became so convenient. Nowadays, what you're describing is Redbox, because you still have to pick the movie up and you have to return it. The difference is, instead of a physical store with people ringing you up, you can do it on your app. You go there and you still pick up and drop off, and it's very inexpensive because you're having to go through the inconvenience of picking it up and dropping it off, whereas you pay more for the convenience of streaming at home.
Exactly. And that's the business fundamental, right? And then you put on your technical hat, like, okay, I need to let people find a way to browse the movies. If they don't have a physical store, what options do I have? Maybe they could call up a call center and ask what movies they have, or what other tools are available out there. And then you see, oh, e-commerce is a thing. So I could make a website with all the different movies available, and I can give them a better browsing experience than in the store, because now they can filter by their favorite actor, they can filter by which movies are Oscar winners, they have all these tags, right? So then you use your imagination to say, wow, I can actually use this as a business advantage. Having an e-commerce store for picking up movies is a business advantage over the Blockbuster physical store, where you have like maybe a few sections of thrillers, and these are older and these are newer. On an online store, that's how you drive from business strategy to technical strategy. Like, okay, I need an e-commerce website, and it needs to be updated live, and it needs to have these filters because these are my competitive advantage, and everything needs to be seamless. And then you do that for a while, and let's say Blockbuster also launches the same company, the same strategy, which of course you always have competitors, right? Whether you're a small business or a big business. And then you're like, okay, technology is evolving. I still need to help people watch movies at home. One thing that I'm losing out on to Blockbuster is the convenience, where they can say, okay, quick 1-day shipping for free, and I can compete with that. Maybe let me start a streaming company. So maybe they can just click play and they can watch the movie directly, and they can just not have to deal with the whole postage and getting DVDs and returning.
The other thing that I always think about, and it's taken me a long time to realize, is that the more unique you are, the more you can offer things that they can't get anywhere else, the better positioned you are. So think about it. When you're watching Prime on Amazon or you're watching Netflix, they have their exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. I have to watch it on Netflix or I have to watch it on Prime. And so it encourages people to sign up for your service because they're like, oh, I want to see that show. Where if they didn't have that and everybody was just offering the same movie, then I, as the consumer, can go to different places to watch the same movie. Why would I stick with Prime or Netflix? Anything you can do to create an advantage as well, to give people something that they can't normally find elsewhere, will always put you in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Yep, absolutely. And this is where I love to go back to the idea of a small business, is that there is no small business. If you're a bakery, you're competing with the bakery next door, and you're competing with all the restaurants in that neighborhood. We know, for example, that restaurants die at the rate of, I think, 90% or 80% in the first year, and then the other 15% in the next year, and it just keeps falling off.
So competitive. Yeah.
Yep, it's so competitive. And so at every single quarter, every single month, you have to think about, wait, what is my competitive advantage? How can I stay in business next year? And what can I do that others are not doing? And so you have to be constantly on your toes. And now you're competing not just with the local businesses in your neighborhood, you're competing with every business across America, pretty much.
You said it, Aman. And that is exactly the mindset, thinking strategically. Technology is just a tool to help us succeed. But at the end of the day, it's like trying to build a house. You need to know what tools you're going to need in order to build the house that you've already designed for yourself. So I already know this house is going to look like this. Like you said, it's going to have 3 bedrooms, it's going to have this many bathrooms, it's going to need a pool. And then from there, I know then, okay, well, I'm going to need to have a filter for the pool and I'm going to have a certain type of sink for this bathroom. And you work that way. And oftentimes in business, we forget that. We get so attracted by the tools that we then forget our mission, our goals, our strategy for our business. I'm so glad we had this dialogue because I think that that's so critical. And I think just changing the way we look at it can make a huge impact in how we address the goals that we're trying to achieve for our business. Aman, how do people reach you?
Sure. Go to my website, sanpram.com. My company's name is SanPram Transnational. And the first thing you'll see on the website is a lot of free essays and free articles that we have published, which will help you build that technical fluency. And the one that you should look out for first is called The Non-Engineer's Ultimate Guide to Software Technology. And it's a free 5,000, 6,000 word essay that gives you a lot of the basics that you need to succeed in business, in technology.
And you can help people anywhere, right? I assume this program is offered to anyone as long as they have access to the internet. They can get information on your website and reach out to you, right?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Awesome, Aman. Well, thank you. This has been so helpful for me. I know that the listeners are going to feel the same way. They're going to go, oh my gosh, I never thought of this before. And that's really what it's all about. Again, we're trying to create awareness and help people utilize what's available to them in the best, most effective way possible. So thanks for being here, Aman.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I hope to help a lot of small business owners be bigger business owners.
That's all for this episode of Live Blissed Out. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Aman Agarwal for being my guest. If you have a question or comment for a future episode, all you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/LBOVM or click the link in the show notes to leave a brief audio message. If you find value in our show, please visit liveblessedout.com to reach out, subscribe, and share on social media. This show is made possible through listeners like you. Thank you. So long for now, and remember to keep moving forward.